Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. The sun had barely begun to rise over the alien planet, a distant star far from humanity's homeworld. Yet, the school had already begun, its pristine walls glowing in the early morning light. Across the hallway, alien students shuffled into their classrooms, their multi-limbed bodies moving with an elegance and precision that was often taken for granted by their species. Among the students were representatives from dozens of different races species from peaceful worlds who had never known hunger, war, or the harshness of survival. These were the elite of their societies, sent by their governments to learn the ways of the galaxy and to mingle with other species. It was meant to be a lesson in cooperation and understanding. The humans, however, were different. They had been invited to the academy, not as students, but as instructors. A handful of carefully selected individuals, representing the diversity of Earth's people, were tasked with teaching alien students. The subjects varied human history, Earth's advancements in technology, and, most unexpectedly, safety protocols. Humanity had long been known to the galaxy as a Deathworld species, one whose native planet, Earth, had been filled with dangers that made even the most hostile alien worlds look tame in comparison. It was a planet teeming with life, from towering predators that could shred through steel to the tiniest insects capable of injecting paralyzing venom. Earth's ecosystem was a battlefield in constant motion, and its inhabitants had learned to adapt, survive, and evolve in ways that many alien species couldn't comprehend. The alien students, however, had little knowledge of Earth's harsh conditions. The mere idea that safety lessons would be required for such a primitive species seemed absurd to them. After all, the creatures of their home planets had lived in harmony with nature for centuries. Their worlds had no natural predators, the environment was stable and safe. They were taught to protect themselves from minor risks, an occasional misstep, or a small miscalculation, but nothing ever came close to the life or death struggles that humanity faced daily. When the safety course began, the alien students had little idea what to expect. The instructors, all human, entered the room with a quiet sense of pride. They were aware of how their species had been viewed by the rest of the galaxy, often as aggressive, unpredictable, and even reckless. Yet, they were proud of their accomplishments. It was no small feat to survive on a planet like Earth, and they had mastered the art of perseverance, resourcefulness, and ingenuity. And so, they stood ready to teach their alien counterparts what it meant to truly understand the risks of the universe. The day started innocuously enough, with the human instructors speaking in general terms about safety precautions in hostile environments. They discussed things like hazardous weather, dangerous terrain, and the need for caution when dealing with unknown species. To the alien students, these were all trivial matters, things they rarely encountered on their serene, well-controlled planets. But as the day wore on, the tone began to shift. One of the human instructors, a former soldier from Earth's militarized forces, had decided to start with a demonstration. With a calculated look, she took a step forward and began to recount one of her most harrowing experiences. She spoke of the jungles of Earth's equatorial regions, where towering trees with razor-sharp thorns grew like twisted skyscrapers. She spoke of the giant, carnivorous plants that could trap a creature many times the size of a human, and of the venomous snakes that would strike without warning. As she spoke, she drew the students' attention to the different aspects of the environment she described. She pointed to holographic images of Earth's most dangerous creatures, showcasing their methods of attack and defense. At first, the students looked on with mild amusement. They had heard of the so-called Deathworld reputation before, but it seemed exaggerated. They had little understanding of what it truly meant. Some even giggled, exchanging knowing glances. But the instructor's tone grew more serious as she detailed the psychological toll Earth's dangers had on its inhabitants. She described the constant vigilance required to survive in an environment where every step could lead to an encounter with a predator or a natural hazard. She spoke of the near constant need for awareness, whether it was knowing when to seek shelter from a sudden storm or how to escape a pack of carnivorous animals that would hunt as a group. "What you must understand," she said, her voice now low and even, "is that we don't get the luxury of assuming that the world around us is safe. On Earth, every moment requires calculation, awareness, and, yes, sometimes sheer luck. But most importantly, it requires action. If you don't act, if you hesitate, you don't survive." The students were still chuckling, shaking their heads at what seemed like an overly dramatic retelling of a primitive existence. How could a species survive on a planet so filled with danger? It seemed almost impossible. But then, the demonstration took a turn. The instructor gestured to a large hologram of an Earth jungle, a simulation of a particularly treacherous environment she had once navigated. She triggered the simulation, and the students watched in wide-eyed disbelief as the image morphed into a representation of the jungle. The hologram came to life, with monstrous creatures stalking through the dense underbrush. Suddenly, one of the alien students, the tall, insectoid creature, moved to approach the simulated environment to get a closer look. But as he stepped forward, an unexpected sequence of events occurred. The holographic simulation shifted, and a massive predator, a terrifying image of an Earth apex predator, emerged from the trees, lunging straight for the student. The alien froze, his limbs caught in a moment of shock. He had no idea how to react. The hologram was a simulation, yes, but it was based on real, unpredictable threats from Earth's environment. The instructor, seeing the reaction, quickly stepped in, deactivating the hologram and calling for the student to retreat to a safe zone. "I told you," the instructor said, her voice now stern, "on Earth, the unexpected can kill you." The alien students were now silent. They watched as another human instructor, a scientist, displayed a series of images depicting Earth's most deadly creatures, from massive predators that hunted in packs to small, seemingly harmless animals that could deliver a fatal venomous sting. Each image was a stark reminder of the merciless environment from which humans had evolved. These weren't just strange beasts from some far-off planet, they were the very embodiment of survival in a world that didn't give second chances. The shock began to sink in as the students realized that the humans weren't exaggerating. They weren't just talking about creatures or plants that could be avoided. The very environment itself, the unpredictability, the sheer variety of dangers that humans had learned to navigate, was enough to humble even the most advanced species in the galaxy. One by one, the students began to grasp the gravity of the lesson. The instinct to survive was deeply embedded in humanity's psyche. Every individual, from the smallest child to the oldest elder, had been forged in the fires of Earth's harshness. To them, it was normal to be alert, to take precautions, to understand that danger was always lurking just out of sight. For humanity, safety wasn't something they could take for granted, it was something they had to create, adapt to, and constantly innovate in order to survive. It wasn't just about the creatures or the environment. It was about the mindset that Deathworlders, those who hailed from planets teeming with life-threatening hazards, possessed. The ability to stay calm under pressure, to think through a crisis when everything was falling apart, was a skill that few alien species understood. On their peaceful worlds, safety was an assumed constant. On Earth, it was an active battle. The students began to realize that, in many ways, the safety lessons weren't just about physical survival. They were about mental fortitude. About understanding how a Deathworlder's mind worked, how they processed threats, and how they adapted to constant danger. It wasn't just about knowing how to avoid harm, it was about being able to face the worst of the worst and still find a way to keep moving forward. By the end of the day, the alien students were silent. They had witnessed firsthand the truth behind the stories of Earth's dangerous, unforgiving landscape. And while many still didn't fully understand how humanity had managed to survive in such an environment, they did know one thing for sure: when Deathworlders said they didn't need safety lessons, it wasn't arrogance, it was reality. In a galaxy filled with safe, controlled worlds where danger was a distant thought, humanity had survived because they had learned to face the universe with an awareness that was both constant and intense. And now, the alien students had learned the hard way why Deathworlders didn't need safety lessons. They had learned it by seeing the raw, untamed truth of what it meant to live on Earth. And for the first time, they understood that it wasn't just about survival, it was about the unbreakable will to live. It was a lesson they would never forget.